All right, hey guys, thanks so much for joining us here, Facebook Live and on YouTube. Steve and I are going to be giving you guys some updates. Feel free to ask questions here and watch the full stream on our streaming channel and on the NBC Connecticut Facebook page. If you guys are watching along here on Facebook, Steve and I are going to get started in just a second.
Yes, we are.
Okay. Let's do this. Let's go. And if you guys are joining us here, Facebook Live, or if you're watching on our YouTube pages, Steve and I are going to give you guys some updates. You can also watch on the NBC Connecticut YouTube page, as well as our streaming channel for the full broadcast there. Steve, it's already starting to snow out there.
And
it is. It's going to pick up tonight.
It's ramping up, and it depends on where you are, too.
Yeah.
Some towns, not even too much going on. But then other parts of the state already getting close to the whiteout.
Okay. All right, guys, get ready.
We're standing by.
Thanks for joining us here as we continue to keep an eye on the blizzard of 2026. I'm meteorologist Anthony Carpino.
Steve Glazier here alongside Anthony. Here we go, my friends. Anthony, the blizzard warning officially in effect all the way through Monday night. So we've got a long way to go. This storm system is just getting going.
It is. And, you know, at first this was just along the Connecticut shoreline for that blizzard warning. Now it has been expanded, Steve, not only for the shoreline, but the entire state. So everybody expecting very breezy conditions for us and some good amount of snow to go along with it.
I think that's the biggest takeaway here with this storm system. That one that you'll notice the most, perhaps, is the wind. It's a big driver of our weather. It's, of course, the driver of the blizzard warnings, too. Of course, we're focusing a lot on the snow drifts, which will make travel near impossible for some parts of the state. Tomorrow morning is when the worst of it is. But I think the wind is really the big takeaway. These wind gusts could reach 40 to as high as 60 miles an hour. With the last storm that we had last month in late January, you know, the winds were probably between perhaps 15, 20, 25 miles an hour. We are doubling that kind of wind magnitude, at least doubling that. And that creates a lot of issues. So here's the storm system. It is now officially a storm that is moving offshore, oceanic storm, and it's intensifying as it taps into cold air over land and relatively warmer water temperatures out over the Atlantic basin. And this is quite remarkable. We've got millions of folks impacted here up and down the I-95 to Route 1 corridors from Delaware to Maryland and to Virginia Beach, all the way up here into the New England area. And then folks to our north, our friends up into Boston, Worcester, into northern New England. Not much happening at the moment, but yeah, that is going to change because of these snow bands that will move in. If you see any of these darker blue colors, those are the heavier amounts of snow, and those bands of snow will probably only form more and get going more as we go through tonight as the storm intensifies. So the deeper blue, the heavier snow. It's taken a little while to get going in northern Connecticut based on some of the drier air there and distance from the storm itself. Where we've been getting a lot of the snow, though, here is into southern Connecticut, where we're seeing more of that accumulation already start to pile up through the Connecticut shoreline, the I-95 corridor, and now snowing all across the state. So I always love to show you what it looks like. This is our New Haven camera, and it's going to be interesting to watch how this unfolds. You can already see some of that snow and ice piling up and accumulating on the left-hand side of this camera lens. Wet conditions, too. This also speaks to the type of snow with this event. This is not going to be as fluffy and dry of a snow as what we had last month. This is going to be a pastier, stickier snow. It's a heavier snow, too. There's a lot more of kind of a water content and equivalent with this one. Because if you think about it, it's taking all that moisture from the Atlantic basin and just dumping it here in the mid-Atlantic states and overland into New England. So you can just see how wet the conditions are as we use the little windshield wiper. And the funny thing about that is this is ice on the right-hand side of that windshield wiper. So that's just accumulating on the lens. And then Bradley International Airport, this camera notoriously, probably because this is zoomed way in toward the airport terminal, so it tends to look probably a little bit more intense in terms of visibility and precipitation intensity because you're zoomed way in. But you can see some of the crews trying to keep the runway clear for now in terms of arrivals and departures. So that's kind of where we sit. Anthony and I are going to be going kind of back and forth with this over the next couple of hours. And we are streaming on social media too. Find us on our pages. That way you can ask questions, be interactive with us. We love that. Yep. Anthony, from your perspective, you said this is your first time.
This is my first
tracking a blizzard. So
I'm excited.
I guess congratulations. I'm not sure if I should say that.
Well, my last job, I was down in Augusta, Georgia, and we definitely get any blizzards there. Blizzard for them was having, an inch of snow or two, and that was some pretty interesting conditions there. We got the Facebook, we got all the feeds pulled up right in front of me here, so we'll be able to answer some of the questions that you guys have. I know the feeds are kind of going back and forth a little bit, so if you're watching on our Facebook pages, ask a question there, but make sure to join us on the NBC Connecticut streaming channel as well as our YouTube pages. So like Steve mentioned, you can see how this system is now starting to work its way out into the Atlantic, and we are starting to see some of those heavier snow bands. Well, they're getting closer to the state. One of the things that Steve mentioned was how it's northern Connecticut that's now just starting to see that snow work its way into that area. But look at the darker shading there along portions of the shoreline. So definitely starting to see some more of those heavier snow showers there in southern areas of the state. So you go to Ansonia, you go up Route 8 a little bit closer to Waterbury, Naugatuck, seeing some of that snow as well. Let's see if I can stop this at the latest frame here. And I want to pull up what we usually end up using. Let's see if I can switch it. This might be the wrong one. To our regular style of radar. This is where we end up seeing, we'll just keep it here. Let's zoom it back out a little bit. But you can definitely see, Steve, a lot of those heavier bands further off to the south, all of this kind of pinwheeling as we go through tonight. And it's really starting to intensify there. So let me know if you guys have any questions about the forecast here. Nick says, any changes for the forecast for South Windsor? So no changes there. We're still talking about blizzard-like conditions across Connecticut as we head into the overnight period. The peak of this storm, where we're going to end up seeing the most impacts, will be in the overnight period. So as we go to sleep tonight, those impacts likely between about 3 a.m., but lasting all the way through what would be our morning commute and even through about 10 o'clock in the morning there. So still expecting some very gusty conditions for us. And well, we're still expecting anywhere from 10 to 20 inches of snow. So let's go through future radar here in satellite, where we do end up seeing a lot of that snow continue for us moving through this overnight period. So there you go. We continue the clock going past 10 p.m. and there's still bands. Take a look at the future radar here. You can see how, well, we have areas of lighter blue, darker blue, and that keeps going back and forth. Those are those snow bands that we're going to keep a close eye on as we head through that overnight period. So look at this. By 3 a.m., look how much dark blue is covering Connecticut. It's almost covering the entire state. So everyone expecting to see that moderate snow band and heavy snow band moving through that overnight period. It's not until we get to 10 o'clock in the morning where we finally start to see things break apart a little bit more. That's not to say the snow is done. We're still going to be dealing with snow showers moving through Monday afternoon, but it's not as widespread. And then by Monday night, well, we're finally starting to clear everything out. So here's a look at that forecast total for you, about 10 to 20 inches across the board here, across Connecticut. Now, I will say, we'll be keeping an eye on those heavy snow bands. It's those snow bands that will end up pushing your snow totals closer to that 20-inch mark, and maybe in an isolated location or two, perhaps exceeding that. I don't think by a whole lot, but wouldn't be surprised if we get a couple of 21 or 23-inch reports. I don't think it's widespread. I think it's for a couple of towns that just sees that significant snow band when it starts to set up shop there a little bit. Let me see if I can get to anybody else's question. So where do you believe the heaviest bands will set up? So this is a very difficult question to answer. because this is just going to form. Let me see if I can dial it back here. Looking at radar here, a little bit wider perspective. So we can see, I'll try to draw this here. It might be hard for you guys to see, but we can draw like a little line here, a little line here. That's where we can see the bands as they play out. But where we expect them to form, well, we have to keep an eye on where they are right now and then kind of going forward. So it's very hard to use a forecast model to predict where they go. We have to see them on radar and then track as they move. And that's where we can kind of pinpoint kind of more in the moment as to who is end up seeing the heaviest of that snow there. Let's see any other questions on here too. Amanda has a question. Is the wind and power outages more of a concern than the amount of snow expected? Steve, I don't know if you want to jump in here too. I'll answer that first. I'm kind of leaning more on the side of the wind, honestly, just because that wind can move the snow around, and the wind is going to be the issue when it comes down to power outages, Steve.
I think so too, Anthony. I think the wind, because the storm's coming so close to us and it's deepening so much that, if we get some power outages, of course, it's going to be tough to renew and fix those outages because it'll continue to be windy tomorrow. And you think of these big trucks or whatever it takes to get into the lines and outages and all the snow on top of that. So I think outages is something that is more of a concern with this one, especially compared to the last storm that we had, those strong wind gusts that we're seeing. So that's going to be something that we have to plan and prepare for, making sure that anything essential that you need is charged up. Perhaps you have an alternative source of heat if you do have a generator running that outside, at least outside your property with enough clearance so no exhaust or fumes are harming you. And then if not, maybe an alternative friends or family's location in case you have to do any chores or anything like that. So that's going to be one. And the wind is going to be strongest tomorrow morning through probably from about 4 a.m. tonight up until about noon tomorrow, noon or 1. So a big chunk of tomorrow morning. And that's really what's going to drive the blizzard conditions. That's really driven by the strong winds. So blizzard also is based on visibility because the two kind of go hand in hand with the wind whipping up the snow. It reduces the visibility. And the key number for a whiteout, if you will, is a 1/4 mile. So we're seeing that actually at the Waterbury Airport location, 1/4 of a mile visibility. This is current. We're at 3/4 in Stonington, 1 Groton, Chester. So you can see what part of the state, especially the southern half of the state, is experiencing the toughest of the travel conditions right now, if anybody is out. Whereas Bradley Airport is still reporting 7-mile visibility, which generally is on the clear side. So look at the expanse of this weather system, though. I mean, it's huge. You have all of Jersey under the blizzard warning, and the blizzard warning is going to New Hampshire all the way down to Maryland and Delaware. So it's a big storm that we're seeing. The winds are just getting going. Again, the windiest time is going to be tomorrow morning. The current wind gusts are a little bit higher than this, but the sustained winds are 7 Meriden, 8 miles an hour in Danbury, 12 miles an hour in Hartford, 15 in Willimantic, 14 in New Haven. The gusts are not at the blizzard level yet, so the blizzard not ongoing yet. But as we go through tonight, that's when the winds continue to ramp up. Bridgeport, 28 mile an hour wind gusts, Groton, 23. The wind gusts could be reaching up to 40 to 60 miles an hour. So why so windy? It's a storm, if you've heard the term bombing out, bomb cyclone, that kind of term, that is accurate. It's a storm that rapidly intensifies, and it's just right now emerging off the mid-Atlantic. So these reds indicate kind of the strength of that low. And once it gets to a deeper red color and all the lines get closer together, that's where some of the strongest winds come in. So you can kind of see how this circle right here, that's the center of the low, gets closest to us tomorrow morning and early afternoon. So that's when conditions are going to be windiest. We have drifting snow. You have some issues like that. So feels like temps right now, low 20s. The wind will make it very cold for cleanup during the storm. I was also thinking about personally cleanup time, probably doing a few waves, probably tomorrow afternoon, take a crack at it. And then we'll see. I don't know, Anthony, have you thought about when you're already going to start the snowblower? And
the snowblower is another sore subject there. I gave it a try today. I give it a 30% chance of actually working by tomorrow morning. So I think you're exactly right though, Steve. I think if you're going to go out there, you got to do, if what you have to do is just to shovel, yes, out there in waves. So maybe later on tonight, get up early, do another round of it, and then another one by tomorrow afternoon. Steve mentioned those winds, anywhere 40, 50 mile per hour gusts there for peak wind gusts. Really moving west of the river there. I think the greatest chance for seeing gusts more than 50 will be eastern Connecticut, but also the I-95 corridor stretching all the way down through Fairfield County as well. I do want to show you just out to our east there for places in Rhode Island and then going out toward eastern Mass. They could have winds potentially gusting over 65 miles per hour. Now, I did see one question on here. I think it, let's see, where did it go? Is it true? Alex wants to know, is it true that this would be similar to a Category 1 hurricane if this were hurricane season? So there is definitely the potential for Category 1 gusts out on Cape Cod as this system really just tightens up and as we kind of go through that overnight period. So if you want to look at it from a wind perspective, that's definitely a possibility. Not for us in Connecticut, but you got to go out east toward eastern Mass and sections of Cape Cod there. Let's see. John says, I have work tomorrow near Waterbury, need to go to Woodbridge. How's it going to be? Well, John, if you have work tomorrow afternoon, I think you're going to be in much better shape than if you have work in the morning. So I'll walk you through future radar here again. Moving through tonight, we see just periods of heavy snow, the heaviest snow arriving right around 3 a.m. or so, and then continuing all the way through roughly 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning. It's after 10 a.m. where we start to break apart the snow a little bit, but we can still have some snow bands moving through Monday afternoon. It may not be for everybody, so we'll slowly start to taper out those snow showers moving past midday, and then by tomorrow night, we're finally done with all of that snow there. Let's see, other questions here. Let's see. Sean says he's at BDL right now. It's not that bad so far. There's more departures left. A little windy out there. So Steve, he was saying how winds at Bradley not too bad. I know you were just showing those current conditions. Also not really seeing that wind right now. My parents actually flew out of Bradley today as well.
Oh, wow. They did it.
They were able to get out. They were a little delayed, but they were able to get right out of here. But yeah, those winds are just going to be, I think, the big story for us.
Yes.
In addition to the snow, I mean, I don't want to discount 10 to 20 inches of snow, but I really think that wind could be a problem for us. And also talking about, scattered power outages to kind of go along with it.
I think so. I think that we will have scattered power outages. I know that's something that we have to plan for. And we will be getting you through the storm here the best we can at NBC Connecticut. Hey, let's take a couple of live pictures. First in Mystic, Connecticut, the low visibility. You can see the snowfall accumulating, pretty icy looking picture. And we have some live pictures as well from Meriden, Connecticut, if we can take those, showing the highway road conditions. Those are getting snowier. Someone's got their hazard lights down there on the left-hand side as they go along. A couple of tire marks that are visible on the right-hand side of the screen. So it looks like if the roads are passed with enough vehicles that you're almost finding your own groove in there. But it's good to see no impacts here and not a lot of folks out on the roadway. There's a decent amount, a handful of vehicles here and there, but there is a big commercial vehicle travel ban across Connecticut. The governor has issued a state of emergency, which enables and frees up resources to react and go to any issues with the state. I know state of emergency can kind of be a scary thought, but it's just kind of literally a state that you're in to free up resources to go wherever those will be. So those conditions will continue deteriorating. Here's a live look in Litchfield on our Litchfield camera. This is on the northern side of the snow event, so the heaviest of the snow rates and also the bands of snow quite haven't filled in just yet. So it's not too bad. You see a couple of vehicles navigating, but definitely those roads are becoming snow covered. And that's when conditions get really on the dicey side. The feels like temperature is about 22 to 25. The temperatures are generally here all below freezing. So anything that's falling is sticking out there. Live look at our Stormtracker Doppler radar just did hear from the National Weather Service office in New York. So if you ever see this little wedge here, it's missing data. The radar down on Long Island hitting, I believe it's a water tower. It just kind of gets in the way. But the Weather Service for New York is based down here on Long Island. And they reported 2 inches in 1 hour between 7 and 8 tonight. So just prior to this live show. And that is that deeper blue moving over Long Island Sound now and closer to the coast. So those are those snow rates that really make it tough and toughest to travel, because while plow crews are out, if it's snowing 2 inches an hour, it's almost impossible to keep up with that kind of pace if these trucks are only kind of getting to a road every other hour or so. You're going to be adding up that snow quickly. So that's really when we should be staying off the roads, once those snow rates eclipse 1 inch per hour. And we're seeing the heavier snow bands here into southern Connecticut, Groton, over to Guilford, New Haven, Bridgeport, and everybody's seeing the snow here across the state. The wider view with this weather system is low pressure is intensifying just east of the mid-Atlantic. And what that is doing is throwing up all this moisture into Connecticut. We don't have to worry about freezing rain or sleet. This is going to stay all snow because there's enough cold air parked across the Northeast. And also you can tell that there's enough cold air because the snow is all the way down through Jersey and all the way down to the 95 corridor in DC, where it was about 50 degrees yesterday. And then now we're getting some snowfall in the nation's capital. So the cold air has come in that will make this all snow. Don't have to worry about any mixing. However, with all snow, then you're able to generate all of the fluff factor out of that. So you're using all the available moisture to then dump as snow, and we will get that range. So the wind gusts, let's talk about some of the wind gusts that we expect tonight. These gusts before midnight tonight shouldn't cause any issues. So we're not expecting flickers of power, any outages or anything like that through midnight. Now, after midnight's a different story, and especially probably just before sunrise tomorrow morning. This is at sunrise or just after at 7:30 in the morning. You see the really strong wind gusts up to about 45, 50, maybe 55 miles an hour. Luckily, that's not constant wind blowing down on us, but occasional gusts. But sometimes those gusts can be the ones that give us the problems when it comes to outages and some minor tree damage too. And that's across eastern Connecticut, northwest Connecticut, which usually is our jackpot for snow totals and some of the stronger winds. You're just farther from the storm. The low pressure center is off into the northwest Atlantic Ocean. So you're actually kind of on the lower side of things as we look at the wind gust potential. And then the winds stay breezy all day tomorrow, which means that we continue to have the blowing and drifting snow out there and some of the stronger wind gusts that will continue across Connecticut through Monday night. Now, Tuesday mornings when things really improve, sun returning, wind calming, though we'll be on the chilly side in terms of some colder air that we've been arriving at. Okay, so we've had a couple of remarks about the wide range of the snowfall forecast, which is 10 to 20 inches, which is a big range, but it's one of those snowstorms that we will probably end up getting closer to 10 inches across the northern portion of Connecticut, of the Connecticut River Valley. So let's say Windsor Locks, Enfield, maybe Suffield. So Windsor Locks, you're probably on the closer side to 10 inches with that. For a couple of reasons, you're a little farther from the low pressure center, and there's a little bit of a shadowing effect here into the valley with a little bit of a downsloping wind off the hills, so it dries out the air just a tad. So those are the two reasons. Now, you're probably going to be closer to 20 inches to the southeast of Hartford. Hartford Center, probably closer to 10 to 12 inches for this snow event. Last snow event that we had in late January was on the order of 16 to 18 inches of snow. As you look live in Duncan Park, we feel so far away from opening day, which is set for Thursday, April 3rd at Duncan Park. And that just feels like a very, very distant memory. But you can still see the buildings, at least a distant thought. You can still see the buildings. So the visibility has not dropped significantly in the capital city just yet. We are still seeing the snowfall, but not a lot of that heavy snow rate to reach Hartford City proper. But that'll be coming here in the